Hey everybody, it's Richard here with EduData Consulting. Most of my Google Workspace development revolves around school operations, but ever since Google Classroom made it simple to submit uh, screen or audio recordings, I thought it would be interesting to look at ways that AI and Gemini could support in formative assessment. So I'm going to share with you sort of the proof of concept. It hasn't been fully developed, but I'm excited to see this through. So I'm just going to take you into my mind a little bit and sort of also share with you why I think it's important to still have a coding background when you want to start working with your own tools and AI. It just makes things a lot easier to structure data and to get outputs that you want. So, as an example, so I had mentioned that it's now easy to record and submit assignments in Google Classroom. So, say for example, your students are practicing for an oral assessment and you want them to record and then turn it in, and then you have a big list of assignments. Now that means you need to go in, listen to each one of them, assess and give some feedback to the student. Well, you can save a lot of time by handing some of this feedback and work to Gemini. And here's how I envision that would work. So we would have a Google Sheets editor add-on that would essentially consist of a custom menu where you could import the submission, the Google Classroom assignment submission, and that would list some data related to the course ID, the submission ID, the student, so on and so forth. In this example, I'm only using the file ID of the submission. So everything you see here, these are file IDs to audio recordings. Now on the second tab, there would be a placeholder for a rubric that you would fill in yourself. So if we're looking at, in this case, assessing a student's oral fluency in French, we could develop our rubric in here. And I've added a couple of columns that sort of are designed to indicate the errors and the corrections for those errors, and then some tips on how to improve their fluency or their presentation, right? So again, none of this is meant to be summative. It's really designed to give the student some feedback on their recording without you having to listen to all 25. So the way it works is once your submissions have been added or listed in the Google Sheet, what you can do is select the rows of the ones you want to assess. So let's just say let's just do a couple so it doesn't take so long. We highlight the rows and we can do grade selected rows, and we'll just run it, and then we'll kind of talk about what's happening here. So what I am doing is I'm sending the recording essentially to Gemini to listen to, and then based on my rubric, attach a level of mastery based on the recording, and then in the various sort of topics, it's going to provide the reasoning behind why it gave that level, some feedback regarding phonics and grammar, and vocabulary and fluency, and it'll sort of paste in all of that data into the Google Sheet. And it does take some time. Maybe I should have just done one. Okay, now it's working on the next one. Okay, here we go. So as you can see, so this first student, achieved a level 1, and the second student got to like a level 2. We've got some explanation of sort of the assessment of the recording according to those topics which I was describing. And then what I really appreciate about this is it's giving me a list of very specific errors in the recording and the corresponding correction. And then there's a few numbered list items for the student to review about how they can improve their French. So this is great that we get everything kind of into one spot and into a sheet. But the next step would be then to process each row. So to have another function here that then, based on the submission ID, for example, is able to push the errors and corrections and the tips for improvement directly to the student's private comments in Google Classroom. So it's a great way, I guess, to provide this formative feedback and do it quite quickly. So there you have it. There is the idea, and thanks for watching. Bye.